Hey everybody, and welcome back. Alright, well, as you can see, we're going to be on with this week. Had several comments last week about the bass and what have you, a couple of suggestions and things. But before we start any work, I have some breaking news. I told Linda that I had a couple of comments about me having cobwebs on my hat. The next thing I know, I happened to be in the kitchen and I opened the sort of pedal bin thing, and when I went to throw my bit of rubbish in, there was my hat, my work hat, in the bin. So I was just going to retrieve it when I got shouted at, and then I was given a brand new hat. So now my Sunday best hat is now my work hat, and I should have brought it down. My new Sunday best hat is actually Harris tweed, genuine Harris tweed from the outer Hebrides. But anyway, you see, you've got to be careful what you say in front of Linda, so just be forewarned about that. Alright, other than that, it's not too hot, but it's very dry, and it's dry for the foreseeable future. Of course, it'll be dry now right up till September the 7th, which is when I have my sort of open day, and the local vintage club has a fun day, people come and ride, and then it'll rain. So anyway, I've just noticed also, God, I'm really measurement challenged, that and that are not in the right places. I noticed it because, I don't know if you'll be able to see this, when I put this on, this is closer to that one than it is to that one. I don't know. I really do not know, people. Anyway, I've got a big sheet of sort of brown paper over there. That, I don't know if they use it in the UK, but a lot of things now when they arrive in boxes, instead of having peanuts in and stuff, they got masses of this stiffish brown paper that's just scrunched up and pushed in. Seems very wasteful to me, but I suppose it's better than expanded polystyrene chips. Alright, so we'll go and get a piece of that, and we will attempt to make a paper template and then start making the first side of this. Alright? Alright, so I thought I'd leave it on there because that holds it in place. Do you know, if I'm damned if I can find my narrow roll of masking tape, so I've had to set to and cut a load of pieces off the wider stuff. Alright, so I used to watch people making paper templates, and then I thought they undid things. But as I say, I was watching that Rungy chap, whose first name I've forgotten again, but it's not Todd, which I thought it was. And see, I thought, imagine you're just making a dome from a flat piece, and it's going to end up with like a 6-inch diameter. I thought that what you would need to do was have a piece of paper that was the size going across the top. So let's say, I mean it won't be, but let's say it was half a circle, so that's half the circumference over there. So if it was 6 inches, the circumference would be basically 6 3s, 18, getting on for 20 inches. Right, so I would tend to make it, but it doesn't want to be that much. It only wants to be what the final size is going to be, because you're stretching the metal. So it doesn't have to be this big because you're going to bend it like that. It only needs to be the size you want, because in effect you're going to bump the middle up. So with that amazing revelation, I realised what was going on. So what we're going to do, I should have just stuck these on already, shouldn't I? Is you find apparently the flattest bit. Now the flattest bit, of course, is this piece across the top. As you can see, it's already getting to be a thing. Then what you do is you start making your tucks. Let me put it there. We'll stick it to all of these just to be on the safe side. Right, so you start to stretch it. Now let's, did I bring the scissors over? Right, so you go down and see, it always looks easier like there. See, there we need to make a tuck to get it to come in. So we'll do that. And there we need to make a tuck to get it to come in. Well, actually that's going to be rounded. I could have done with another thing there, couldn't I? See, this is showing us there isn't that much shaping. Look, we're virtually not having to do any tucks or anything except at the end. So let me finish this off. I'm going to bring it to the edge of the thing. And the idea is when we've got the tucks and we cut it so there isn't too much extra. Well, let me do that. Right now, oh, switched on just in time for the pickup. You can see here, see I've got about 3 tucks here, that's brought that in, and that's about fine. And then we've got some tucks here where maybe need. So what we can see now, take this off here. As I said, watching Mr. Rungy do this, it seemed to take him seconds. Is we've got roughly our shape. Now I was thinking you did that and then I wasn't exactly sure what you did with the tucks, but all he did then, and of course this shows that's got to be stretched, and this piece along here have got to be shrunk to bring them in. So the next thing he did, as I say, I thought they did was he just flattened that a little bit. That was the piece of metal. Hang on, is that in? No. I'm going to open you out, hold on. You see, flattened it out a little bit. That is the piece of metal he cut out, because this extra is what you stretch. So they all round here is stretched so it gets bigger, so it forms that. The same, you see the bump there? So we're going to stretch, so when we've cut this, we'll mark on it that we're going to stretch that and we're going to shrink these edges. That is more or less it. I couldn't believe how, and then when he cut it out and started doing it, fine. So anyway, let's, I'll get my tucks a little bit better. This maybe isn't the best paper. It's a little too stiff. And then we'll see about cutting a piece of alloy, annealing it, and we'll batter that bit. We'll start there. We'll batter that with a hammer to get it stretched out on the sandbag, and then we'll start to English wheel it to get it that way. And then when this is sort of pushing out, actually I bought a little edge shrinker, I'll show you it. We can shrink that and pull that in. So let me get that transferred to a piece of alloy. So there it is, cut out and annealed. So now we've got to make sure we've got it the right way so that we don't thump it on the wrong side. So here on this side, we want something like that banging through. Okay, so let's go and try that. Alright then, put my ear protectors on, and I'm going to remember to put a pair of gloves on so I don't get that covered in that black alloy stuff. So turn the volume down or whatever. Right, so now we'll try wheeling it a bit. So first of all we'll try it with a relatively low pressure. You can see they're starting to come out, look. I'm getting a lot of wheel marks. But it really loose. Well, most of that's disappeared now, so I guess I've got to put a little bit more pressure on and get the wheel in to stretch this a bit. No, the other way, mate. Well, it's starting to bring it up. I better flatten this off and get myself to start a bit more. So let me turn you off and I'll bring you back. Alright, so how many of you noticed I was wheeling this the wrong way? It should be that way. So anyway, you can see we're getting quite a thing. I've used the stump. I think I'm going to try shrinking this edge now, so let me move you over. Alright, so here's my little cheapy shrinker, which I just bought to sort of experiment with. I did see one online which had a deeper throat. I wish I'd got that, but the main thing about this is it's hand operated, not foot. So but I've already got too much of a curve in this to be able to get it in. Yeah, this isn't going to work. Not for this anyway. Look, I can't. Doesn't open wide enough. Yeah, that's not going to work for this type of thing. So it's back to the shrinking stump and get some tucks in this. I used the tucking fork as well, but I've really got to bring it round. It's unbelievable how much. So might end up having to make this in a couple of pieces, who knows. Alright, it's the end of the day, although you've only been sitting there doing nothing. Right, so see that? Slightest little bit, and that gets to fit. It's touching at the back. I discovered two things. One, to start with, I put too much curve in this. I'm forgetting these are straight and just curve over the top. We've only got a sort of complete curve as we get to the back. So when I first put it on, it was out here like that. It was terrible. So I had to get it sort of flattened out again. And then I realised that as you get closer to the shape, you've got to start actually cutting the shape. I couldn't understand for long enough why I couldn't get this on here. And then I found out that actually that extra little bit I gave myself was touching. So I've just, because the only trouble with that is, as you're doing it, always at the back of your mind you're thinking, if I cut too much off, I've made a mess of this, and then it's scrap. But hang on, you can only see a bit of that. Let me open you out a bit more. So it's getting close. That's not bad. As I say, I can get that in a little bit more. We're not short at the bottom. I'm pretty sure when I fold this over and it stretches that I've got plenty. So that sort of paper template, see, that goes in yet. Got to get that right. That sort of paper template, which I thought previously I would have thought would have been much too small, is actually amply big enough. So as I say, it's 10 to 5 now. I've done enough for today. See you tomorrow. Good morning again. Alright. It's difficult to position the camera to show you this, but anyway, I've been working on this. First thing I did, because I realised last night, you know, that when I did that paper template, and I said it, start with a flat area, that is about the flattest area of the lot. And what I've done, and I think this has been my problem several times before, is initially I think I need to have too much bend. And as I say, I don't. Look, that's flat. That's flat. That's flat up to there before it starts curving. That's flat up to there before it starts curving, and that curves back a bit. I should basically have left one entire piece. When I marked it out, instead of marking it here and saying that needs to be stretched, no, I should have made that my base and marked it to curve it, curve it, curve it. So anyway, what I did was, using a couple of blocks of wood, I flattened this mostly, and then I've been working and working and working on it. So now, see, now you can't see the front, but it basically fits nicely at the front. It's not too far out there. There's my straight line. Now then, the next thing is, see, that needs to go in a little bit, but that needs to go in there. I have no idea how to make that go in there, and then sort of put a little joggle in it, and then the curve starts again. But it's getting there. I annealed it again this morning before I started. You know, this is like wheel building or wheel truing. The principles are there, but it's just doing them. And the other thing it has in common, actually, I know I'm waffling, but is you get really, really close and you think, oh, right, I just need to make that do that, like you do with the wheel. I just need to tweak these couple of spokes, and then you're worse than you were before you started. So let me work on this bit here, try and get it to do that. It's sort of got to go in a little bit and then continue with this. See, that curve is more or less right there, that curve is right here, but there's a gap there because that bit needs moving in. But I know when I press that in, it's going to pop that out. Oh, I got that shrinky thing to work as well, and it does work nicely. So alright, let me press on. Alright, so this in here, what I've done is, using a piece of pretty heavy tube, put that on there, and I formed it up. It's not quite right yet, but the thing is, it's got the thing in it, so I've got to shape it slightly. I know I'm getting in the way, aren't I? I've got to shape it slightly there. And it's actually starting to look quite good on the bike. I'll show you. Right, just have to pull my earmuffs off because they work brilliantly, but you know, things like I switched the belt sander on, and I can't even hear it running, so I'm thinking that belt sander's not running very well. Anyway, I've put some turn in that as well. It's still pretty good at the front. I've actually got a bit sticking down. See, that looks really nice, doesn't it? The only trouble is, it's virtually not touching the book anyway. So, I don't know what I'm doing. I actually started this off slightly using the shrinking fork. I put it in the shrinking fork and twisted it and got a little bit, and then I worked it with that tube. But I mean, that's exactly what I wanted. I think, you know, I also, as I keep finding these things, I don't think I'm working out the way the book is. You know, like, that's a bit of a bump. Instead of a maybe a longer curve there would have been better. And the same with these. But as I say, I can't get it to touch the book hardly at all. But it is coming along. It needs to go in there more from here to make it hug the book. but when I start to do it there, then suddenly I move away. As I say, you know, you move away somewhere else. That's touching there pretty good. That's got a bit of a gap, so I've got to get that in more. I think I might have taken a little bit too much out of this top as I was mentioning, but I think I can bend that in so that I can weld it up. But it's starting to come close, so let me just keep working on it. Alright, I've had enough for the day, and here's something that's annoying, but I'm not bothered about it. That doesn't fit properly on the book, right? But that fits really nicely there. I say I'm not that happy with the book design. I took without that little bump in. It all just, I got that actually to be more of the thing that the base is. Less of a joggle and more of a change. I'm still working on that slightly. I've got to make a rubber bat. I'll show you something before we go. But I mean, I'm really happy with that. It's more or less touching there. The least little bit of sort of sanding and what have you will get that. It's basically touching all the way around the bottom, so it's weldable. It's curved round here. It fits. I've just cut the bottom and I've cut the centre line. I mean, that's not bad. In fact, it's good enough. So what I'm going to do, not tomorrow because tomorrow's Wednesday, Dick's coming to ride in the morning and then we're having lunch with Steam Shop. And maybe Tom, his fireman. But I think what I'm going to do Thursday is I'll use the book again as the start. I'm going to get it to fit like that, and then I'm going to take the book off and I'm going to get it to match this, so the two halves meet up nicely and match in the shape when you're looking down at them. Make sure I get this in the same place, and then I'm going to weld right together and do the final fettling, because I think that looks fine. As I say, I wish I hadn't cut that little bit off, but it doesn't look bad. I'll tell you what I actually did with another tank. I'm waffling again. Is I had the same thing. Can't remember which one it was. I didn't like where it fitted, so I actually just welded a piece on. Didn't use it to mount it or anything, but it just carried the line of the fork forward that little bit more. Anyway, I'm going to show you something. This is actually more telling you about something than showing you something. I found out that you can put like a rubber tyre on this, just a layer of rubber. I would think what would work nicely would be a strip of inner tube. Apparently, if you put the rubber on here, then when you're wheeling, it's smoothing, but it isn't stretching the metal. It's not, I guess the rubber just takes up that little bit of squeeze that stretches the metal, and it will get the bumps out without stretching it and smooth it out. So I guess you could take this off, put your rubber doodad on, and then when you weren't using it, pull it off, and there's enough room to pull it round and just put it over the top here and then pull it round like a sort of balaclava thing, pull it on. So anyway, I think I'll have a go at that when we get close to being completely finished. So as I say, I'll see you on Thursday. Good morning everybody. Alright, well as you can see, that is about right. Didn't get to ride yesterday because it got up into the 80s by the middle of the morning, so you know, Dick and I are old fellas, we can't go around in temperatures like that. So anyway, hang on, I've got to walk all the way around the table to get round there. I'm coming, don't worry. Alright, so this is about touching everywhere. That's there because I just had the laser stood on there and I've put a bit of tape down so I know where to cut the middle. I've trimmed this so it's about right with the bottom. That maybe needs the least little bit of finagling. You know, I'd love to be able to put this on the wheel to get rid of the last of these little bumps. But every time I do that, the whole bloody thing, I go to put it back on, and particularly at the bottom, it's not touching. So for the moment, that's it. I think what I'm going to do is wait until I got the two halves welded together and then do some final planishing more than anything else. Just very light planishing so I don't stretch the metal and make it go where I don't want it to go. There's a lump there, you see, it's got to be worked on. Alright, so we're calling that half done. Let me move you. So I've cut the other side. I just turned the template the other way in and it seemed to work fine. So as I say, what we're going to do this time is we're going to start at the bottom. See, that's basically touching these two, look, all the way up there. Slight bend in that. And that's almost touching. As I say, Dick was here yesterday. Dick builds boats and we were talking about getting a fair line, and when he sort of looked at it, he said, well, you know, you've made some big transitions here. That curve is nothing like that curve. That and that curve are the same. That and that, and even that one are similar, but here it goes. I mean, it can be done, obviously, if I wanted it to be this shape. It's just that I'm making things harder for myself. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put a mark there. I'm going to start wheeling this, see if I can get the top to come over and it to bend in towards the back. And then when we've got it slightly coming up so that it's right, we can start looking at the more nuanced little curves and get it to come round right. Okay, so let me hang on. Oh, it's in my pocket. See, whenever I get efficient and see, let me put the pen in the pocket. So that, you see, starts to bend there and there and there, about there. So you can see how difficult I've made this for myself. Alright, so let me start wheeling this top part, see if I can get it to come over, and then I'll show you that. Well, this might actually work. See, it's starting to curve round at the top. Of course, I've got to be careful here. If I make it fit the book exactly, then it won't match up with the other side, because that's a bit wider in. But that is a lot more like it. I think I might start to shape this round here. We'll pound this a little bit, shrink it here to get it to come in. See if I can put some tucks in here, pull it all around. Okay, so let me keep at it. So I have been diligently working away. I've been diligent, I have no idea what I'm doing, but things are moving in the right direction. It's like when I'm riding a section. I'll ride it and I won't be able to do it, and I won't be able to do it. And then I'll do it perfectly and I'll get to the end of the section and I'll think, great, what did I do differently? And I can't remember. Well, it's the same here. I was miles out and then suddenly I'm getting close to being where it should be. Can you see that? Yeah. See, when that's cut down there, I've got to come in a bit here. I think I need to take a fraction out of there. Actually, no, I think that's right. I think that needs to come in a bit. I've started to do the little joggle. Let's see, it's about touching there. Just needs a little bit more work on that to make it look the same as that side. It doesn't go in as much as that side, so I've got to work that in a bit more. And as I say, that'll kick this end out. When I start to work that, it'll make this end go completely haywire. So what I'm trying to do is work from this front, slowly get it all right, which is what I did with the other side eventually, and then get that all formed in. Then we'll mark this, cut it, cut that one, and weld the two together, and then we'll do our final finishing when it's got much more the form and things won't twist as much. Because once this is welded up, if I do a little bit at this end, look, I'm getting the black again, although I've been wearing my gloves, I've been doing very well. But I was saying, right now if I start to form this, it kicks this side out. But once that's welded up, I'll be able to form that a little bit more, and it, like with welding, it won't be able to distort as much because the other side will be holding it. So let me carry on. Alright, it's the end of the day. But I think I've done pretty well for one day's work on this. Okay, so this is the side that's finished. I've cut that edge. I hope this will show up. But it's going to overlap about, I know my hands are in the way, about like that. I think that's pretty decent. Maybe slightly different curve at the front. I can work on that a bit more. What I did do, I don't know, see that, is I made a pattern of the bottom and then flipped it over so that I could be working the bottom of that. So there's a little bit to do, but they're pretty close. This top here I was bringing down a little bit to match this, and that, just that edge, well actually when it gets cut it needs straightening up, because as you can see that's basically straight, that's got a curve in it. I hope you saw that anyway. So another day done. As I say, I'm wandering around. I'm getting the towel to clean my hands. I feel that's been a pretty good day. I've virtually done one day with that one, but it took me 2 days to do with this, because a little bit of this trimming I actually did today, so 2 and a bit days. So I'm down to sort of trimming. I've done the front end more or less spot on. I put my little joggle thing in, they look pretty much identical. So what I need to do now, I think, is get the bottom cut so that I can, because at the moment I can't stand these down like that because the bottoms aren't the same. So if I cut the bottom of that right, then I can get the top done. And we're pretty close. I'll even be working on this a bit tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. As I'm sure you remember, every Friday I go to my friend Mike Comer's place and gossip and drink cappuccino. But he has a trial this weekend, so he's busy laying out sections. So I'll come out and do a bit more, and I'll show you it then. So bye for now. Alright, well we're going to knock off for the week because I've made a complete pig's ear of this side. I was working trying to match up the other side, and I've just come back to try it on the book, and look, I just trimmed the top and it looked pretty good. I've screwed that up completely. So I will have to get another sheet of alloy. I'll order that today being Friday. It'll get here on Tuesday afternoon. That is an absolute bomber. Hang on. Well, hold on a second, I'll turn you off. See, it's my own fault. I said to keep going on the book and then at the end make the change, didn't I? Well, what I started doing, see, there's the good side. Using that and the base, I've been working and trying to match these up. And just now I thought, wait a minute, why is that like that? And that's why I tried it on the book. Don't think I can rescue this. Hang on a minute. That is about 3 inches wide. Well, that's 3 1/4. But there's nowhere near enough metal for me to get that up to match that height. I've got plenty at the back. I've cut that top and just completely ruined it. Oh, that's a bugger. See, if I lower the top of this a bit to match, if I start to lower the top of that, that's going to change the shape of this, the front, and that this side just fits the base beautifully. I really don't know where I went wrong. It was like I said the other day, you get really close, you make one change. Although, you know, that's... How wide is it here? It's approximately 2 1/2 there. It's nearly 3 there. See, that should go in a bit. Now, see, I've got a gap at the bottom now. I don't know if I can make that go like this. I'll keep working on it, but see, I'm miles out of this end. This end is very long. How about if I do that? I've got to move my joggle a bit, but maybe that's where I've gone wrong. Maybe if I start this end and fit it, and then recut that. Anyway, either way, if I can't do it, that's scrap, so I might as well work on it. See if I can rescue it. See, that is wider there, I'm sure it is. Yeah, that's about 3 inches there. That's 2 1/2. So anyway, it's just going to take masses of looking at and working on. So say we'll leave that for this week, and I'll see you next week. So until then, don't get too depressed, but stay safe and enjoy yourselves.